The first thing I want to do is talk about a recent study that we published. And I've been working with a researcher at Louisiana State University, and he has since moved to Northern Illinois University. And this project that we've been working on kind of started in about 2007 or 2008. So at the time we were working on our original research, MySpace was much more popular than Facebook. Facebook had about 110 million users, and I don't know if you know how many Facebook has maybe today. Anyone? Like 850 million users. So this project has been ongoing for about 5 years. And I would be remiss if I didn't thank a few people for allowing me to get funding for this project. This project comes out of the Schrader Family School of Business Administration at University of Evansville, with the strong support of, at the time, the dean, Robert Clark, and with continued support from the current dean, Steve Standiford. So I've been lucky enough to be funded to do some of these research projects, which did require a little bit of funding. So let me explain. Well, here's some contact information just to show you that this is what our students might look like, and this is what your kind of personal brand might look like these days. So, you know, we have our Twitter account, the Facebook account, the LinkedIn. Some people, there's 17 of us on Google Plus right now, right? And then, for example, I'm an amateur photographer. I like to take pictures with my iPhone. And so I'm on the website Flickr, where I can post my pictures. Okay? So this is, you know, how someone might look today. This is my contact information. So the current study that we did that just came out in the Journal of Applied Social Psychology is social networking websites, personality ratings, and the organizational context. Is it more than meets the eye? And I'll explain what we did. We conducted 2 separate studies over the course of about 2 or 3 years at 2 different academic institutions. The first one actually happened at the University of Evansville. I conducted a survey where approximately 25% of the student population at the university responded to my survey. And what we did is we asked them to provide a personality test. We asked them to take a personality test. Okay? So they gave us their self-reported personality in the form of a 50-item personality test. And then we also asked them, do you have a Facebook profile, and maybe can we view it? And we went from about 586 subjects to about 275 subjects, approximately. So we got a student sample of about 275 at the University of Evansville. And one of the first things that we looked at doing is linking self-reported personality to what we call Facebook-rated personality. So, for example, I have Blair Wissinger sitting up here. She's a student. She would fill out a 50-item personality inventory. Then we would have 3 trained raters who knew about personality and knew about Facebook go onto her Facebook profile and fill out the same personality test just based on a 5 to 10 minute profile view of Blair's Facebook profile. And then we asked if those self-reported personality from Blair and this Facebook-rated personality would correlate. And they do. So why is that important? Someone in the audience. Audience participation. Tell me why it's important that we found that Facebook-rated personality correlates with self-rated personality. Go. Somebody. Help me out. No.
Self-reported personality is a good predictor of performance.
Okay, so if organizations are using currently self-reported personality to predict job performance, then we could, in essence, just use a Facebook-rated personality as a proxy for self-reported, and in essence, just use a 5-minute Facebook profile view to maybe predict your job performance. Okay? Maybe a little bit scary for some to hear that, but the first thing we have to do is correlate self-rated personality to what I would call Facebook-rated personality. And there is a correlation. Over 2 studies, over 500 subjects, over 3 different raters, we found a strong correlation between Facebook-rated personality and self-reported personality. That says your personality is coming through on your Facebook profile. Okay? And we, since we published this study, we've had thousands of critics come out and say, well, that's absolutely not true. I'll leave that up to you. So then we make the leap. If we know in the literature that self-reported personality is linked to job performance, could we say Facebook-rated personality is linked to job performance? So that was our first study. And what we found in a very small sample, which we would like to extend at some point in the future, we had a small sample of less than 60, which is not great for us, but we were able to provide a link between Facebook-rated personality and job performance. Now you may say, how do you get job performance data? Well, we asked this sample of 275 who had Facebook profiles, who allowed us to view their Facebook profiles. We gave them a monetary incentive to ask their employer for a short job appraisal. And of those 274 that gave us access to their Facebook, about 60 of those employers were able to provide us with job performance data on that person. So we had actual job performance data, we had the self-reported personality from the students, and we had our trained raters giving a Facebook-rated personality profile. And we were able to link Facebook-rated personality to job performance, which is a really important finding. Okay? The second study that we did is, okay, job performance is what we looked at in study 1. How about academic performance in study 2? We had about 250 subjects at Louisiana State University who, again, filled out a self-reported personality inventory and who allowed us, who took an IQ test as well, and who allowed us to go to the university registrar and find out their actual GPA. So we're going to say academic performance is measured by their grade point average. Okay? So there have been plenty of studies that say if we know your IQ and we know your personality from a self-reported personality test, we can predict how you will do in the classroom. Okay? So we said, what if we added on top of that Facebook-rated personality? So if we had three things, your IQ, based on an IQ test, your self-reported personality, and Facebook-rated personality, would that be a better predictor of academic performance than just using the traditional measures? And the answer to that question was yes as well. So now we're saying, in essence, in these small samples that we'd like to replicate in further studies, that you could predict job performance with a view of the Facebook profile and academic performance. Let's talk about the Facebook traits, the personality traits that we used for this study is the Big Five personality. And they're on the screen above me. And these are the ones that are best linked in the literature. Thousands of studies have been done linking these 5 traits to things like job performance. So in the organizational context, the Big Five has the most validity. Okay? So what are the Big Five personality traits? The first one is extroversion. And you are, to a degree, one of these things. So you are either more extroverted or less extroverted. It's a sliding scale. Okay? Someone who is completely introverted would be very low on the extroversion scale. Okay? So we've got that. Conscientiousness is how reliable you are, how consistent you are, how dependable you are, and how persistent you are. And this is the number one factor that is linked to job performance when we use these personality inventories. Agreeableness. So how are you going to get along with others? Do you work well in teams? Do you make waves at work? Okay, that's what we've got up there. Emotional stability is how you handle stress and how well you detect emotions in others. So for example, and I've said this many times recently, if for example you were one of those people who said, it's Monday, that's your Facebook status. It's Monday. I've got a case of the Mondays. And then on Tuesday, you have a similar status, right? Oh, it feels like Monday, but it's Tuesday. And every day you have a negative Facebook status, or the postings on Twitter are negative, and you're kind of down on life and everything. You'd be low on emotional stability. Okay, so it's how you handle stress, how you handle pressure, how you detect emotions and others. And then openness to experience would be a good way to measure how creative you are, open to learning new experiences, and that can be a positive trait in the workforce as well. Okay, so it's these 5. The strongest link between one of these personality traits and job performance is conscientiousness, but they're all linked in some way to job performance. Okay? So I've done this. We've gone through this, but just to reiterate, many studies have found this. We weren't the first to determine whether your personality as viewed on Facebook matches up with your self-reported personality. We're about the 5th or 6th studies to do this, but we did it over 2 studies with over 500 subjects with 3 different raters. So we have a pretty strong indication that we could determine your personality by a Facebook view. Okay. Some of the things that I think are important is that there's high inter-rater reliability. So we take these 3 trained raters in study 1 and these 3 trained raters in study 2, and their determinations of someone's personality are consistent among the raters. So it doesn't matter who we use as a rater, they're coming out with the same findings. Okay? There's high internal consistency among the raters. So within one rater, they're rating you the same way consistently on these big 5 personality traits. So it's kind of a little bit harder to explain, but there's internal consistency among the raters. The correlation between Facebook rated personality and job performance was shown in study 1, and the correlation between Facebook rated personality and academic performance was found in study 2. So now I get into like popular press and start giving advice about how, now that you know this information, what can you do, right? So there was a study that was recently done, and they created an infographic, which I'm about to show you here in a second. But they found that 91% of employers were using social networking sites to screen candidates. Now that number is extraordinarily high. We've seen past studies that said about 45 to 50% were using it. This is a more recent study. It says 91% of organizations are screening using social networking websites. That includes the gamut of Facebook, Twitter, and so on. Okay? About 68% said they eliminate candidates from the hiring process, and here are some reasons why they'd eliminate them. So these are things, if you're a student sitting back there, take note. Here's some things you shouldn't do, right? Post inappropriate photos and comments. Content about drinking and drugs. Now, some of you are in college, and some of you were in college a number of years ago. A 21-year-old college student has the right to an adult beverage whenever they want to. Okay? If there's one picture, they're holding a glass of wine at a party, we're not saying you're going to be eliminated from that. If every picture on your Facebook profile is you drinking, you have a problem. So here we go. Posted content about them drinking, using drugs. Negative comments about an employer. I don't think there is a single employer that likes to be bad-mouthed in social media. Please do not put negative comments about your employer on your website. There have been many cases where employers have fired employees for such actions, and they're always backed up in the courts. The employers are always winning this battle. So don't post negative comments about your employer, especially if they have a well-defined social media policy. If you lie about your qualifications, and we can figure it out from the content of your Facebook profile, that's not a good thing. Okay? And if you demonstrate poor communication skills, this can also get you disqualified from a job. But about the same number of employers, 68-69%, said they did hire candidates based on the content of the social media, social networking profiles. Okay? Positive personality / organizational fit. So the candidate just fit well with the personality or the culture of the organization. Their profile showed creativity, so that openness to experience. They did something different, or they had different experiences than most candidates would have. The profile supported their professional qualifications, demonstrated strong communication skills, and showed that the candidate was well-rounded. Hey, employers are looking for people that can do more than work these days. Okay? Representing themselves in the community, doing community service, being active in athletics and health and fitness. So that's what employers want to see. Okay? So it would behoove us to look at the infographic. And I'll blow this up a little bit. So the first thing, again, which surprises me a little bit. Do you use social networking websites to screen prospective employees? Yes, 91% do, okay, according to this particular study. During the hiring process, which ones do you use? Well, certainly LinkedIn would make the most sense to me. That's your professional face. But employers are savvy enough to know that we can get a lot more information from your Facebook profile than probably can your LinkedIn. LinkedIn is just your online resume. Okay? We're not going to get a whole lot of information based on that. And surprisingly, not surprisingly at all, is we can get a lot of information from your tweets and your Twitter account. And so 53% of employers said they were monitoring Twitter as well. Okay, so the second thing I do want to demonstrate is when employers start looking at these sites, early on in the process is the key. Okay, so about 40% of them do it immediately after receiving an application, after initial conversation with prospective employee, about 27%, and then sort of right before making an offer or late in the process, fewer employers are doing that. So we're looking at you early on in the process. Should we even give you the interview? That's what I'm saying. And that's what this infographic demonstrates. Some of the other things I've already told you about, but it is sort of an interesting current look at how social media is being used in the screening process. Okay. Again, this is more popular press than anything else, but it's fun to look at. So everyone comes out with, here's a list of 7 do's and don'ts, 5 do's and don'ts. So this is your 5 things to consider. This article is titled, How Social Media is Hurting Your Job Search. Okay, so the first thing they put up there is, you have friends in low places. So maybe you have the perfect Facebook profile, the content looks great, you're positively representing yourself, and then you have a friend who's posting on your wall, hey, it was great partying with you till 3 a.m. and, those drugs were great last night. And they have the pictures that they're posting about you. Okay, so not only do you have to worry about yourself, you have to worry about the friends you keep and the content that they post about you. Is anybody out there? Now, we've demonstrated that you could use any of 10, 20 different social media sites. If you are putting relatively little content out there on those social media sites, it's probably better to not use them at all. So if you're going to maintain a Facebook profile, great. Put a lot of content out there. For example, I just joined, what did I just join? Pinterest. Thank you, ladies, for giving me a round of applause. That's great. But what I don't have is any content out there. I joined it just to say I joined it. Well, now employers will be searching these sites. If they don't see any content about you, it's probably going to hurt you. It shows a lack of persistence and things like that. So I tried something and I gave up. So the first thing I have to do is start adding things to my Pinterest site. Too much information, that's pretty obvious. Post things that'll make you look in a positive light, but we don't need every detail about your life. One of the things they say is if you're spending too much time on your social media job search, you're probably not making effective use of your time. This should be about 20% of your time. You'll start, okay, I'm going to update my Facebook profile today and I'm going to make it look more professional. Next thing you know, you've looked at 100 of your friends' new pictures and you've chatted with a few buddies and the job search suddenly disappeared. Okay? And so, here's 5 things that this site was. Now, one blogger came on and I found this on SlideShare, and I'll give you the link here a little bit later on, but she had some really good advice, and I think this is very pertinent. I'm saying today you should be on many different social media sites, and you should be sending a consistent message across those sites. So, the site that I found today, the slide presentation, choose unique URLs for all your sites. For example, my name is Peter A. Rosen. On the web, I am Peter A. Rosen. You can call me whatever you want to in person. The reason I'm Peter A. Rosen on the web is because there are a few Peter Rosens in the world, and they are famous. And I can't stand these famous Peter Rosens. So if you did a web search, you got on Google and typed in Peter Rosen, I'm on page 15. And that makes me angry. But if you do Peter A. Rosen, that content will be all me. So you have to find a way to differentiate yourself, to make sure that it's your content, and start trying to brand all those, Facebook.com/Blair Wissinger, Google Plus/Blair Wissinger, LinkedIn Blair Wissinger. So we want everything to point to that particular brand, your personal brand. Hey, how about Googling yourself? What would happen if you Google yourself? What would you find? Because prospective employers are doing the same thing. So you want to see if you can control the content that's out there and maybe add some new content. If the content you don't like is up front, let's do something new. Use a professional photo that appears across the social networking, social media sites. So, unbeknownst to me that this was a good idea, I did this. So if you go to LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, whatever, my profile picture is me in front of the London Eye. I happen to like that picture. It was me in London. I was excited. I was smiling. Good picture. And I think you should do this. You need to know who you are, what message you're trying to send, and send that message consistently across the sites. There are ways to customize profiles, even with LinkedIn, even with Twitter, and some of these more standardized sites. You can do things to set yourself apart. And if you can customize your sites, you should. Great, you're using all these sites. Are they working? Well, you need to figure out whether they're working. So keep track of things. If there's a way to keep track of who's viewed your profile on LinkedIn, okay? They have that already. Who's tweeting at you because they've seen some of your tweets. If there's anything that you can track, you should, because you need to measure how well you're doing with these social media efforts. I like this one. If you're not going to publish original content on a regular basis, you probably shouldn't use these sites. Okay? Engage in conversations. Twitter, to me, is the way I've been going. You can reach professionals, and you can reach them directly. Okay? Last night, or yesterday morning after the tornadoes, I personally thanked Wayne Hart and Ron Rhodes for their coverage. They did a good job. I felt like I was safe. I was in my bathroom. And Wayne Hart added me on Twitter yesterday, and Ron Rhodes, thanked me back or whatever. It's like you can now connect with people in your field who are professionals, who are doing the job, and engage in a conversation like never before. And then, you can keep up to date with current news in your field. I'm going to bring up a few students here in a second, and one's going to talk about what, his future career plans are. He just joined social media 2 months ago, okay? And he's going to tell you that he's been keeping up with the current news in his field. Above all, you have to be yourself. Because if you try to portray this image to potential employers and then we actually hire you and that's not who you are, we're going to be less likely to retain you. And I think you should create some sort of value proposition for employers. Why do I want to hire you? Okay? Employers need to know that.